All right, here's the next quote. What makes you a man is not the ability to have a child, it's the courage to raise one.
Yeah. I'm with that one.
I like how you're that's a thing.
I understand that. The only problem I have with that are those that weren't given or haven't had an opportunity to raise a child. I mean, I know that, like around Mother's Day, Father's Day kind of thing, we always want to shine a light to those that have mentored, and there have been a lot of people that filled in that role with either, adult kids or didn't have kids. They were kind of, that kind of thing. So that's the only apprehension I have to that. But
yeah, well, I mean, look, dude, we talked about this when we talked about the TV dads.
Yeah.
Uncle Phil.
Right.
Wasn't Will's dad. He was his uncle. But by the end of the show, he told Will, "You're my son." Right? In other words, there was a relationship that grew to where Uncle Phil stepped into a fatherly role. Now, I'm a huge believer and proponent of men. Like, how it says like it takes a village?
Yeah.
Which I believe it does.
Sure does.
With boys, it takes a village of men to raise that boy. What's up, my friends? Welcome to the Papi podcast. My name is Benny, and on this week's episode, me and my brother actually talk about sparkling water and regular water. I'm sorry, that is so silly, but it's true. We do. But we also get into some of the most impactful fatherhood quotes. Check it out. You know which one I tried that I actually really like is Oliver Market has it, is the Spring Mountain, Spring Valley or something like that.
The big bottle ones.
Those are pretty
good.
They're
just expensive though.
Yeah, but they're also in bigger bottles and they're very good.
I could crush one of those though. That's the problem. Like in a sitting, I can crush one.
I think what's wrong with crushing them?
Well, then I just get thirsty later and I want another one.
Well, you just get regular water from there.
No. That's good. I'm like probably like 75% sparkling water now at this point.
Really?
Yeah,
okay, so obviously sparkling water doesn't hydrate you as much as regular water.
I don't know about that. There's something about like a cold sparkling water.
No. I mean, I'm sure it's quenching, but does it hydrate you? No.
I mean, it's water.
I guess, but there's got to be you can't say that sparkling water hydrates you at the same rate or whatever as regular. Why
can't you? I don't know.
Because sparkling water, there's carbonation in there.
Yeah.
I feel like the carbonation is not hydrating.
Do you think it dries you out or something? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'll have to take a look at it, but
I mean, I'm not saying it's bad for you. I'm just saying it's not as good.
I mean, I've been off soda for like.
Oh yeah,
7
when you're
months,
going to compare it to soda, it's like, sparkling water is the way to go.
I'm adding life to my.
Yeah, but I just like when I drink one, I'm like, does this count towards my 100 ounces of water I should drink every day? Probably not.
Are you drinking 100 ounces?
I'm drinking 3 of these,
Holy
and this
smokes.
is 30.
Yeah,
and I even sometimes go over that. So I'm trying to have 100.
We used to do these like health kicks at like Loud and Clear, where push-ups, as many push-ups you could in a day, that kind of thing. And one of them was like drinking a gallon of water a day.
Yeah, which is 120 ounces, I think.
Yeah. Is it 120 ounces?
I think it's 120 ounces.
It's not good.
It's a lot of water.
Yeah, I don't think that's very healthy.
Well, okay, a gallon. Let's see. Let's look it up real quick. A gallon of water. How many ounces is...
Because the report out there is like only drink water when you're thirsty.
I don't know about that.
That's what I've heard, is only drink water when you're thirsty.
128 ounces is a gallon.
It's a lot of water.
It is a lot of water.
Yeah.
It's 4 of these.
Yeah.
Which, it's a lot. If you're not used to drinking water, it's a ton of water. Even if you are, it's...
Yeah,
you got to really...
I had to make many pit stops throughout the day.
But I'll tell you this, there's a difference of me drinking 2 of these to 3 of these.
Like you feel it in your body?
Yeah. And my body I lose weight quicker at a faster rate.
Interesting.
I don't find myself as tired in the evenings. Yeah.
All right.
So
that's good to know.
That's your tip for the
Dad
dad tip. Drink water.
Yeah, let's just go into the show, right?
This should definitely go on the show.
Yeah, okay.
If you're a dad and you're not drinking water, you're probably
start with sparkling water first.
start with Spindrift.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't really like the grapefruit one that much. But
I feel like grapefruit is such an acquired taste, the fruit and the flavor that
you know what? I just can't beat the Costco price though. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Because I think it equates to like 75 cents a can.
Yeah,
Which
but can you really beat the
ridiculous.
Costco price for anything?
No, but you just have to live with, lemon, lime, and grapefruit, which are
How are the lemon and lime ones of those?
the lemon one is not as good as you think because they make a lemon and tea version, which is very like a Arnold Palmer Spindrift, which is very good.
Okay.
The raspberry one is, I feel like, very good. The orange mango, very good. But you're not going to find any of those in the bulk aisle. No.
Right.
It's lemon, lime. The lime I actually really like. The lemon, I can live without. Grapefruit.
Not only if they sold like just lime, then that would probably be
I don't know if I could do 30 limes though.
I mean, I don't see why not. I buy like energy drinks off of Amazon because they're cheaper that way too.
Yeah.
I'll buy like 12. I do Rain. I don't do
Rain.
Rain is
I've never heard of that.
It's good. It's like a Bang, but it's a little better for you than a Bang.
You used to kill Red Bulls.
Yeah. Red Bulls and Monsters and Rock Stars are
dude.
horrible for you. So
I don't know
bad
how
for you.
you drink those, dude.
They were good, dude. I mean, I was also 20, so
I think I only got into do you remember Amped from Mountain Dew?
Yes, I do.
But it's just because it tasted like Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
That was it. So.
I'm like, I don't know what this is really doing for me, but it tastes good. So yeah, but if you're not drinking water, you should. I think sparkling water is good compared to soda.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's as good as regular.
No contest. I feel much better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. The first 8 months of this has been really hard, but
I'm sure.
I'm hoping it's going to turn around.
I'm sure. Here's a question for you. When James was younger, like baby, and he was in a diaper.
Yep.
You guys use regular diapers, right? You weren't like
Yes.
cloth diapers?
No, I don't think I could do that.
Neither. When it came time to clean him, how many wipes did you use? Like, would you say? Like, as a normal, like he went poop. Like, how many wipes would you use?
2 to 3, maybe.
Okay.
I'm a man of efficiency. If I could live with one, I'd do one. But
Okay. Where'd you buy your wipes at?
a little bit of everywhere. Target, Walgreens because it was close, kind of thing.
Yeah.
We actually had a lot donated to us, so
that's cool.
I think we made it to maybe 3 months or so. With just on wipes just given to us, which is awesome. So
Yeah. We always bought our wipes from Costco, so we had crazy amount. So I would always go 4 or 5 wipes.
we used to get diapers at Costco until Safeway did them, and Safeway actually had. I priced it out because I don't know about you, but especially with my firstborn,
Yeah.
I was calculating everything. Okay, what's the best deal we can get? Master of efficiency, trying to figure this whole thing out.
Yeah.
Safeway diapers were actually cheaper than the Costco ones.
Really?
Yeah, but you're
got pricing
more
out per diaper.
per diaper.
Okay.
Yeah, but you just got more diapers
In Costco.
but you also paid more for them per diaper.
Okay.
So it was negligible.
That's a brand?
No.
Oh.
The difference was very skewed. Very.
What was the
very
brand?
tiny.
Because brand,
Safeway Select.
brand matters.
Safeway Select.
And your experience with them was good?
Yeah,
Okay.
totally fine.
Because there's some that I don't remember if it was
Oh, I've used the Dollar Tree diapers.
Huggies or one of those.
I don't know Huggies, but
I don't. Maybe it might have been Huggies that we got a couple times where we're we hate these.
yeah.
Because we use Pampers. I hope I got that right, or it might be flipped. I don't know.
No, I did a lot of Safeway Select diapers, and they were great.
They held their weight.
They held their weight. That's for sure. Yeah.
I feel we got good use out of them.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I'd recommend that.
Yeah. So we got a lot of stuff at Costco because you could buy it bulk. Wipes, diapers, formula. We had to go Safeway or because Costco didn't have really formula like that, right? Like
Were
they
you
probably sell you buckets.
Infamil? Were you Infamil or were you?
We were Infamil. What's the other one?
The yellow one.
It was the yellow one. It was the yellow.
Yeah.
Well, you know how they have like different ones that you're supposed to use when they're certain stages, ages or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, but the Infamil, but man, like especially like during the pandemic, which thank God we didn't have a baby then. Really,
We did.
I know, but the formula and stuff, like just like, and that stuff was scarce on the shelf. It was like, dude, this is kind of freaky.
We were very fortunate constantly because we still do have a great pediatrician. He's like, anytime you come in here, just ask me. We have them here.
Oh wow!
If you need some, he's like, don't be afraid to ask. We have them here. That's what they're here for. And so every time we went in, said, hey, I get it. Like you can kind of feel like hand in hat, kind of like, hey, can I have some? But he was like, no, here, take some, kind of thing. And then I think they gave us some like coupons stuff too. So
that's cool.
Great. Yeah. But
yeah. Well, I wonder if every pediatrician says that. Like, hey, you can always ask.
No, just mine.
Oh, okay.
Dr. Dan.
Oh,
he's a real one. Big Star Wars fan.
Cool.
Really cool guy. So,
but he's been with you guys since James.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Us, because we
moved around a lot.
Yeah, we moved to San Diego, and then when we came back, but we were up in Upper Lake, and then so the kids haven't had the same. But I mean, they've had the same one the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Since we've been established back in Santa Rosa, but I think that's just so important, to see a pediatrician that knows your child, the history. Like, because as much as you would think, like, oh, it's all in the same hospital, like they should know, they don't really communicate like that, like for every patient, So, literally, if you're going in to see somebody else completely new, they're like, they won't say anything, but in their mind, they're like, this is me meeting them for the first time. I have no idea, even though I have their chart in my hand. I have no idea what.
Well, it was funny because I think it was after maybe 6 months, the 6-month check with James. He actually had his first baby. And so I checked in with him. I was like, dude, how's it going? He was like, I've been a pediatrician I think he'd been a pediatrician for like 5 or 8 years, something like that. And he's like, it's a whole new ballgame. He's like, no, like I know exactly what to tell other parents when their kids get sick, but when my kids get sick,
wow.
I was like, yeah, that's real.
That's pretty cool.
Very real. So, cool guy.
Yeah, that's cool. So 3-4 wipes, huh?
Yeah, that's kind of where,
I would only use more because I wanted to make sure that the baby's bottom was completely clean. So if I meant me using a couple extra wipes to make sure that every crevasse was cleansed, then I would do that, And because we had Costco bulk of wipes, I felt like I could because it's like, let's see a box over there with tons of them in there, and I can just go happy.
Yeah, you see, for me, crazy. The wipes was never the issue. It was the bags and switching those out.
The bags?
Yeah, the diaper bags.
Oh.
Yeah.
You had to switch them out?
Yeah, I forget what the brand was, but it's one of those cans with the little seal over it, so the smell.
Oh, okay.
After a while, I don't know. Again, it was such an odd time for me in my life because I made this like. Well, you've known me since I was growing up. I am very much.
I've known you since you were born.
Since I was born, very seam in my pants. Very like unorganized, and at that time in my life, there was this mental switch to like. Switching to being more organized, being more efficient, kind of thing, and so in that, like again, everything was to efficiency. Like how packed could we get this before this needs to go out? Where do we get diapers? When do we get them? At what prices?
Yeah.
What's a good deal? What's not a good deal?
I think Ruthie's still waiting for that switch to go off in me because I'm not a very organized person. Yeah. I'm not. I'm really not. I'm not. Like my mind just doesn't work like that. I'm not able to like it's hard. I have to really go out of my way and really put a lot of effort into thinking ahead and planning things out. I'm also more of like a go with the flow.
Yeah.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there. We'll figure it out when we get there. There are other things that I'm like learning, like finances, where I'm like, okay, I need to really plan this ahead of time and not just go into it like that. But when it comes to some of those like things we need at home, things the kids need, like my mind, that's why I'm thankful I have a wife who's super organized and can handle
that it was a big it was big time, just job wise. Like I had to make that switch. I mean, we went from 2 worship pastors to 1 worship pastor, and I had to manage 2 campuses. So, and at the time, it felt like everyone had very similar ways of of operating, like in the staff, and we kind of needed that other right side of the brain kind of thing, like organization. And so I had to like just flip it and just like, okay, like, so part of it was just like out of necessity, like this was much needed. And then it just kind of bled into my normal life. So
I like that. I like some of those dad tips you threw in there. Just like this dad tip I have right now. And this week we're going to do something a little different. This comes from the social media account Dads Who Try. I don't know if you've seen their stuff. Really good on Instagram. And I like their stuff because they really just, some of it is kind of like humor, some of it is kind of practical, but just a couple of young dads who just kind of share a lot. They talk a lot about Bluey too, which is pretty funny. They see the value and one of the cool things that they do is they really, he's really good about, hey, these are 5 shows that your child shouldn't watch, and this is why. So things like Peppa Pig and like Coco Melon, like, hey, your kids shouldn't be watching these shows. This is why. But here are 5 alternatives that they could watch that, is helpful. And Bluey is one of those. So they're like huge Bluey stands. So here's his dad tip. And this week we're going to do it on a video. So this is from Dads Who Try.
Stop treating your kids like they're Amazon packages. Listen, good things take a long time. Kids are an investment. They're not a one-time purchase. And so maybe it feels like what you're saying, what you're teaching, it's not landing. It's okay. It's like a seed, okay? It takes a long time for that seed to show up above the ground. There's a lot of growth happening that you can't see yet. So don't be discouraged. Don't give up. Keep on going. It's going to work in the long run. Keep your patience. Don't lose your temper. Your words matter, and watch it pay out in the long run when your kid becomes a person that you believe they can be.
So, really, really good. The idea of investing in our kids like you would like a seed that's in the ground and you're watering it because you want to become a plant really connects with me because honestly, like, I feel like when your kids are small and you're giving instruction, you're saying, giving your day in, day out, like you're just there's some days where you're like, I don't know if they're really understanding what I'm asking them. I don't think they know what I expect of them, or I don't think they know, but I think that I have to like stop and remind myself like, hey, I'm an example that kids do listen, like if your parents are faithful to the process and have a goal, a vision for how they want to raise their kids, like, and they stick to it and they don't waver, like good things are going to come from it.
Yeah.
So the idea of like, don't look at instant results, but just keep investing and pouring into this seed because eventually like that seed will become a plant, a tree that is going to show fruit of everything you put into it. I think is something that resonates with me a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's just part of kind of the human experience, right? I mean, like look at yourself 10 years ago and look at yourself now and say that there wasn't growth that happened. Right. But I think it's easier to really fall victim for that with younger kids, just because you feel like, oh, like they should know this, like there is this decorum kind of thing, like, oh, they should already know. I've told them this yesterday kind of thing. But the only way that it really instills is again, like a good, healthy expectation of what it is. Right. And I have to remind myself, hey, just because I told them that yesterday doesn't mean that they remember today.
Yeah.
Right. And instead of looking at it as like, they're not living up to my standards, maybe it's an opportunity for me in order to instruct them. Right. Like kind of the same with the drill sergeant kind of thing. Right. Where it's like, oh, the team didn't complete the course. Like we could blame the team, but more likely maybe the leader should have done a better job leading. Right.
Yeah.
So and really instill that and saying, hey, this is just an opportunity for me to be able to grow in patience, be able to grow in instruction, I think is another kind of like important one. So that's good.
I think also the something that you hit on is like there's two things happening at once, right? Like we're investing in our kids, we're giving them instruction, we're giving them, passing on these morals, these ideas, a legacy. And so in our mind, it's like we're raising our kids, but at the same time, like we're growing up too, right? Like I'm as a father, as a man, growing older and maturing even more and more, growing more wise, hopefully, right? Like, so there are two things happening at once. It's like I'm investing in my kid, but at the same time, like I'm also changing and adjusting along that process. Cause like, as you said, like the father that I was the first year when Abel was born is not the same dad I am now.
Yeah.
And so a lot of those instructions and ideas that I'm passing on to my kids, they may be pointed towards the same direction, but the packaging of them are different.
Yeah.
You know, I've shared this plenty on the podcast that like I really dealt with a lot of like just frustration and anger when the kids were younger, because I guess I wanted to see the instant results.
Yeah.
I wanted to see them listen to what I was telling them and then show that they heard what I said, right? Like, and with small kids, with toddlers, like that's just not realistic,
right.
You know? So I think it's a great reminder for us dads to know like, hey, even on the hard days where it seems like they're not paying attention, just keep like being persistent, be faithful to the process, be faithful to who you are, and be faithful to the direction that you want your kids to go, raising them that way. And in due time, you'll see like the fruit of your labor, the fruit of your investment, you know? When Abel was born, I was a youth pastor at the time, and or I was serving on the youth team at that time. And I remember that I had a feeling of like, I'm really excited about my firstborn that's coming, but I also understand there's going to come a time where I'm going to have to like put pause on ministry to be home, like help my wife, right? Like all that. And I honestly didn't really know how to feel about how I felt about it. Like, because I really enjoyed ministry. I have a deep sense of like, what's a fulfillment like through ministry. And one of my friends just kind of really like hit the light bulb in my head. He was like, having a kid is your opportunity to disciple somebody from the very first day they were born for the rest of your life or their life. And being somebody who's serving on the youth team and discipling young people, I was like, oh shoot, like, yeah, like this is, I get to have an impact in somebody's life from the very first day that they were born.
Yeah.
Rather than getting them when they're 12, 13, 14, you know, and they already got all these ideas. Like this was my chance to like grab somebody when they were born and really invest and disciple in them from that very first day. And it really kind of just flipped the perspective of like, oh, well then this isn't something I shouldn't feel like bittersweet about, or I shouldn't feel like, you know, I'm missing out on ministry, because this is ministry, and what I have the opportunity to do is gonna like impact this child, this person's life forever. And so I thought that was like a really cool way of looking at it, because I wasn't looking at it that way, you know?
Well, think about how much growth happens,
Yeah.
right? I mean, like 5 years, 5 years ago, how much has changed, physically for you, emotionally, that kind of thing. 0 to 5, you have, a baby who cannot last more than 5 minutes without someone being there.
Right.
To 5 years old, speaking in sentences, running, jumping, eating solid foods. Like there's so much that happens within those first 5 years.
Yeah.
And again, I understand like the sense of like, we want it now, but there's so much that happens within those, first couple of years. Nevertheless, into 10, into 15, that kind of thing, that It is. It's playing the long game. It's seeing that growth, and then providing an opportunity. Like, hey, I'm the adult here. Like I need to be able to impart wisdom, but they just change all the time. So
yeah, they do.
It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about my kids, like Abel's going to be 10 this year, and so the way I would communicate to him, even just last year, is not going to be the same way. Like he's very smart, and he reads a lot, and he watches a lot of YouTube videos about interesting things and how things work. So his mind's already programmed to think like, I see this, but his mind's already thinking like, how is this made? What goes into making this thing? And it's like, so he's already like beyond just what he sees, but even the things he doesn't see. So those conversations are immediately different, because I can't just, hey, see that, and he can't just be that, because he's going to be like, well, why is it like that?
Right.
And those are questions that are like, oh, I don't know. Why is it like that?
Let me get back to you, though.
Yeah, let me Google it real quick. I'll let you know. But really cool dad tip, again, from Dads Who Try. They're on Instagram, YouTube. Check them out. Really cool stuff. Today, I have some fatherhood quotes I want us to look at. Some really deep ones. Now, I didn't write down like the name of who said these, because as I was looking online, a lot of people have said different versions of these. So you're going to find these quotes in similar ways, like everywhere you look for fatherhood quotes. Okay. So, just some really cool ones I want to like talk about and discuss. So there's this one. So I believe that what we become depends on what our fathers teach us at odd moments when they are not trying to teach us. We are formed by the little scraps of wisdom. I love the first part of this. I believe that what we become depends on what our fathers teach us at odd moments. It makes me think immediately of like on unintended, what's the word I'm looking for? Like organic moments, like moments that dads aren't necessarily trying to teach us something.
Right.
Like that, those are the moments, those are the things that really builds us up to who we are. And we shared this when we had Dad on, like just about, I don't think Dad ever, or maybe he did in some way, but like, I don't think he ever said, hey guys, sit down because I want to teach you how to pray. I want to teach you how I pray. I don't think he ever, at least with me, I don't think he ever sat me down to do that. No. But at the same time, he didn't have to, because we saw that he prayed every day. And in the times that I've asked him, like, oh, what are you praying about? He's told me what he prays about. So like, even though my dad didn't like instruct me in how to pray, like I learned about prayer, like because of him, like how important it was and what it meant, and how he valued it. Even though he didn't like sit me down and like, hey, this is how you pray, So, and at the same time, I think that's kind of scary to think about, like, our kids are learning stuff from us and about us, even when we're not trying to teach them anything. You know what I mean? Like they learn, and even if they don't like follow along with us, like they learn about us. Like they know, like, hey, like Dad really loves Mom. How do I know that? Because every time he got home from work, he'd give her a kiss and like smile and give her a hug, like, and I know that he loved her. Or maybe it's like, hey, Mom and Dad, like they weren't always showing with their affection. So I'm sure that they loved each other, but we never saw it, like things like that. So I don't know. Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah. I mean, the other one that comes up to me is like working hard with Dad. Like he never stopped until the job was done. Yeah. Even if it inconvenienced dinner or something else, like he was going to go and work out and he'd always joke around, I don't want to see any Mickey Mouse work from you guys, kind of thing. He wants the job done well and wants it done, and basically done it to do that. I'm sure you probably learned a lot, but I did one summer with him and just watching him work.
Yeah.
Because of that one summer, he'd be doing roofing one day, he'd be doing plumbing the next, he'd be doing landscaping the next day. And so to kind of watch him kind of tackle all of those with like reasonably like good competence. Like he kind of knew what he knew he was doing, especially when it came to like working with trees and that kind of stuff. Like he was very comfortable in doing that. And I mean, not that I learned how to do that because I don't. Yeah, I'm not much of a fixer upper around the house.
I'm not either.
But I did learn the work ethic at least with it. So
yeah,
I try to carry that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he would work Saturdays at home even if he wasn't going to work, right?
Yeah.
So like you learned about. I did too.
Yeah.
And I worked with him 2 summers, and then I ended up later on getting a job, same company with him, and we weren't together every day, but like, you know, I mean, guys I'd work with would be like, "Your dad's the man," and I'm like, "Oh, sweet, my dad's the man."
You know, that was always the thing, right? Like it was always whenever you hung out with guys that hung around my dad.
Yeah.
It was always like,
he's the man.
Chola's the man.
Yeah.
He's Soledad's the man.
Soledad's a man.
So,
all right, here's the next quote. What makes you a man is not the ability to have a child, it's the courage to raise one.
Yeah. I'm with that one.
I like how you're that's a thing.
I understand them. The only qualm I have with that are those that weren't given or haven't had an opportunity to raise a child. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know that, you know, like around Mother's Day, Father's Day kind of thing, we always want to shine a light to those that have mentored, you know, and there have been a lot of people that filled in that role with either, you know, adult kids or, you know, or didn't have kids. They were kind of, you know, that kind of thing. So that's the only thing apprehension I have to that. But
yeah, well, I mean, like, look, dude, we talked about this when we talked about the TV dads.
Yeah,
Uncle Phil.
Right.
Wasn't Will's dad. He was his uncle. But by the end of the show, he told Will, "You're my son." Right. In other words, there was a relationship that grew to where Uncle Phil stepped into a fatherly role. Now, I'm a huge believer and proponent of men. Like, you know how it says like it takes a village?
Yeah.
Which I believe it does.
Sure does.
When with boys, it takes a village of men to raise that boy. Right? Like Abel Mateo have me, which, you know, it's like they have me. But I'm a huge believer that, like, if I have an opportunity to get my kids around other guys who I love and trust and believe they have something to share with my kids, like, I'm going to do it, you know? Playing basketball, right, with a bunch of guys. My kids probably cause more nuisance than anything when they go there. But I enjoy bringing them because they get to be around some of the other guys that I love and I trust. Some of them are fathers, some of them are not.
Yeah.
But I love to see my boys around these other men because they learn.
Right.
You know, so an example is JR. Okay, JR is not a dad, and it's not for lack of trying, right? I love JR. There are things that JR does that I could never do. When we talk about handyman, and dude, the guy is not only skilled with his hands, but is not afraid to take something on, right? He works on cars. He'll fix stuff up around the house. And so he has the mind for that. He knows how to. So anytime that I could get my kids around JR, like, I'm like, yes. Cause you guys need that stuff, you know? And I know like one of the big reasons I didn't learn or didn't want to learn was because dad was trying to tell me and teach me.
Right.
And honestly, I was like, no, dad, I'm good.
This just sounds like more work.
Yeah. I'm like, no, dad, like, I don't see the value in this. Like, you're doing it. It's all good. And now I'm just like, oh my gosh, why was I such a knucklehead? So I'm like, okay, well, in this instance, my kids won't get that from me because I don't have that. You know what I mean? But maybe they'll learn it from somebody else who's like willing to like try and teach them. So I feel you on that. Like, yeah, there are guys who haven't had the opportunity yet to raise a child, but I still believe I'm not saying that they're not a man or anything, because I believe that my boys need to be around those guys too, because they have something to offer. The way I look at this is more like, it's kind of along the lines, even though it's kind of like opposite, but it reminds me of having a child doesn't make you a dad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Skipped it. So what makes you a man is not the ability to have a child. It's the courage to raise one. What makes you a dad isn't having a kid. It's raising the kid. That's what makes you a dad.
Right.
Right. I think that is what I think it's probably the highest calling in life as a man is to raise a child, to help raise a child, to take the role of like, I'm going to pour into you and teach you what I know.
Right.
And it says the courage to raise one. And I think there's nothing scarier in life than to raise another child, right? Like to raise a boy or a girl, like, dude, like it takes guts to do it. You know, if you want to get challenged and see parts of yourself that you probably been trying to hide away and not deal with, like raising a kid is going to bring that all up to light and shove it in your face
right.
and make you eat it, you know? So yeah, that's what I think about when I'm reading this.
I just wanted to make a shout out
for sure.
to all those guys. Cause
sure.
I think it's I understand the sentiment for it for sure. It just feels like sometimes it's like, you know, like, oh, you're not strong enough kind of thing. Like the true fact of the matter is
you're
that
not
like,
a man.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I learned throughout like my like Christian faith has been like I'm only a couple decisions being away from something that I think, you know, like isn't worthy, right? And so I need to have grace for those that are in those situations because, you know, that story is not done. It's not finished written. So.
And dude, and you know what? This is also an encouragement for guys who haven't had that honor yet. You can make a difference in somebody's life right now. Right. You could easily be that cool uncle, be that uncle in somebody's life that could, okay, maybe you're not the title of dad, but have a father figure type role in somebody's life. Yeah. You just got to look for it, you know? So, I mean, I think if we all kind of like, you know what I mean? Like looked for those opportunities, like the impact we would make would be amazing. I'm going to do one more here.
Yeah.
And I think that this one for me hits home because I have a girl, and that is a girl's father is the first man in her life and probably the most influential.
I'm going to take your word for it. I don't have a girl.
Well, talk about your wife.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, yes.
Right?
There is that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love my wife. She's the greatest person in the world to me. And I think her parents did a great job raising her, you know. Just upstanding morals, just the sweetest person you could ever, and genuine. And a lot of that comes from her dad. Very genuine guy, very nice guy.
Right.
Yeah, very involved in his girl's life. And so, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, a girl's father is the first man in her life, which is like, yes.
Yeah.
Right. But then the most influential, in other words, like that relationship is a lasting impact, right? Like forever and ever. Like even when they're married and they have their own kids, like that relationship with their dad is important, you know? And like for me, Dalia is a year and a half. And so like, I'm like, wow. Like, you know what I mean? It's like the boys too. I mean, it's not like the boys are like, all right, get out of here, guys. It's just me and Dalia right now. Although sometimes it may feel like that, but like that relationship with dad is super important because it really, and you know, also with the boys, I think Ruthie and I had a discussion about this where, you know, because she had sent me something similar to this where it was like, oh, you know, like the way that you love, the way a husband loves her wife is a way that your daughter will understand how relationships should work and what type of man. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's true. And then I asked her, I'm like, let's flip that around though. You know, like, I mean, the way that a wife loves her husband shows the boy too, like what type of woman you want in your life, you know, and how you should be treated as a man, you know, or as a boy, right? Like how you should be treated in that relationship. So like it works both ways for sure.
Yeah.
Obviously the message is like, parents are important. The relationship with your parents are important, you know, and even if you have unhealed wounds there, it's going to make an impact later on in life. So
it makes an impact regardless. I think that's just moreover the crossover, whether it was a positive influence or a difficult, influence or a complicated influence.
Yeah.
It definitely kind of carries across. And so.
Yeah. Do you have any fatherhood quotes? Is there an Eli quote that you always say to James or something?
Mainly jokes, but
give me a joke. What is a joke that you give him?
He was actually really proud of telling this. So Jana's cousin's husband actually works for NASA. So he works, I think, in rockets and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
He actually helped on the project to land the Mars rover on Mars. So cool. So
wow.
He went up. Actually, funny enough, he went to the wrong uncle and told him the joke, thinking that was him, but it was not. But when does an astronaut go? When does an astronaut eat?
When?
At launch time. I told that one to Luke and Sarah and her daughter, and they're like, "Oh, did you go to In-N-Out too?" I was like, yeah, we did.
Oh, is that where you got it from?
We got it from In-N-Out for sure, no doubt.
Hey, you guys, thank you so much for joining me this week. Let me know right now in the comments, which is your favorite sparkling water brand? Eli had one here. I prefer another brand. Which is your favorite brand? I want to know, so drop them right now in the comments. If today is your first day watching this podcast, make sure you subscribe because we drop weekly episodes filled with content that's going to help you become the proud papi that you want to be. Thank you guys so much. Until next week, peace out.